It happens without warning. You're in the shower, almost asleep, laughing at something completely unrelated. And then out of nowhere, a memory surfaces. Something you said years ago. A moment where you mispronounced a word in front of people. The time you waved back at someone who wasn't waving at you. Nobody else remembers it. You know that. And yet here it is again. Burning at full intensity, as fresh as the day it happened. But the memory isn't coming back to remind you of what happened. But here's the strange part. The reason that memory keeps coming back has almost nothing to do with the mistake itself, and everything to do with what your brain thinks happened afterward. Most people assume embarrassing memories stick because they were emotional, because they hurt. And that's partially true, but it's not the real mechanism. Your brain doesn't remember what matters most. It remembers what surprises it most, especially when that surprise hurts. Psychologists call this prediction error the gap between what you expected and what actually happened. The bigger that gap, the deeper the memory sinks, the more permanently it gets written. You walked into that moment expecting normalcy, expecting to be unremarkable, invisible even, and then something went wrong. The gap between expectation and reality was enormous, and your brain, treating that gap as critical data, archived the moment in extraordinary detail. Like when you expect silence, but hear your own voice crack in front of everyone. Now here's where most people stop thinking about it. They assume the memory is painful because the moment was painful. But what if the most painful part of the memory isn't what actually happened? What if it's something your brain quietly invented afterward? This is where it gets uncomfortable. Think about the memory you're replaying right now. Really think about it. Notice something. In that memory, everyone is looking at you. Everyone is judging you. The room went still. Time slowed. And everyone, every single person, registered exactly what happened. Your brain shows you this scene in vivid detail, but it never shows you what happened after. It never shows you the conversations that continued, the phones people checked, the way life simply moved on. But your brain edits that part out every single time. The embarrassing moment may have lasted 10 seconds. You've been extending it for years. You have been the sole audience for a performance nobody else attended. But here's the layer that changes everything. The embarrassing moment isn't really what stayed with you. What stayed with you was the feeling, the heat, the sudden smallness, the wish to disappear. And over time, that feeling quietly attached itself to the memory. You're replaying a feeling, and the memory is just the shape it wears. And this is where it becomes about something quieter and far more personal. Because you've carried this moment not just as a story, but as evidence. Evidence of who you are, the version that isn't quite enough. And the more you replay it, the more real that version feels. But that not the original moment is what you should question. Because here's what's actually true. There was no verdict. No judgment that lasted. No audience that remembered. Only you remembered. And maybe that's the real question. If nobody else remembers the moment, why are you still carrying it? Is it really a memory? Or has it become part of the story you tell yourself about who you are? Because you are not the person trapped in that moment anymore. The memory can stay. Memories don't ask permission. But maybe it deserves a different ending than the one you've been giving it. Because the person in that memory isn't who you are. It's just someone you used to be.